August 12, 1840. A furious Comanche war party seeking vengeance for the Council House Fight massacre had just burned Linnville to the ground. Now Texas Rangers and militia were waiting for them near Plum Creek. What followed was one of the bloodiest frontier battles in Texas history. This is the untold story of the Battle of Plum Creek, and how it changed the fate of the Comanche forever. Wrath on the wind, the road to Plum Creek. The air in Texas was thick with betrayal in the spring of 1840, blood still fresh from the Council House fight, where a peace delegation of Comanche chiefs was slaughtered by Texian soldiers in a room meant for diplomacy. The chiefs had come in good faith, offering 2 captives, one a young girl, Matilda Lockhart, her body bearing the unspeakable scars of captivity. But for the Texians, her mutilation was not a cry for understanding, it was a spark for vengeance. When the Comanches could not produce every captive, even those held by distant bands, the Texans turned the negotiation into an ambush. The room erupted in chaos and gunfire, every Comanche leader inside gunned down in a storm of bullets and fury. To the Comanches this was no battle, it was a massacre, a sacred trust shattered. And so, under the command of the fierce Penteco war chief Buffalo Hump, vengeance rode on horseback. From the wide plains of West Texas to the distant shores of the Gulf, Comanche warriors swept through the land in a storm of retribution, burning, raiding, reclaiming their honor in fire and steel. The winds of war howled toward Plum Creek, where blood would meet blood, and the ghosts of betrayal would not go silently. The fire trail to Plum Creek, Buffalo Hump's great raid. Out of the scorched pride and broken promises of the Council House fight rose a storm named Buffalo Hump, a Penteco war chief whose fury echoed across the wild heart of Texas. He would not let the massacre of his people go unanswered. With a war cry that summoned warriors from distant Comanche bands, Buffalo Hump ignited the Great Raid of 1840, a sweeping, thunderous assault that tore across the plains from the rugged Edwards Plateau to the Gulf Coast. In their path lay Victoria and Linnville, the second largest port in Texas, now engulfed in smoke and ruin as Comanche warriors burned homes, seized goods, and rode with the spoils of vengeance. It was more than a raid, it was the largest native assault on Anglo-American settlements ever seen in the continental United States, a declaration that the Comanche spirit had not been broken. But vengeance has its price. As they turned from the sea, their horses heavy with plunder, they were met near Lockhart by Texas Rangers and militia, men determined to halt the firestorm. What followed was the Battle of Plum Creek, where the embers of betrayal, rage, and resistance clashed in a final, furious reckoning. Plum Creek, the gallop of vengeance and the fall of fortune. The sun beat down on the dusty earth as the Comanche war party thundered northward. Buffalo Hump and his warriors laden with the spoils of the Great Raid, mirrors glittering like stars, casks of stolen liquor, bolts of cloth whipping in the wind, and hundreds of horses and mules driven ahead in triumph. But triumph turned to turmoil at Plum Creek. There, near Goods Crossing, the warriors met a force they hadn't counted on. Texan volunteers from Gonzales and Bastrop, hardened rangers, and frontier settlers who had risen like wildfire to intercept the fleeing Comanches. What followed wasn't a battle in the traditional sense, but a relentless, running gunfight across the rolling Texas plains. Bullets cracked through the summer air as warriors fought to protect their retreat and their hard-won vengeance. Yet the odds had turned. With speed and strategy, the Texans reclaimed most of the plunder, including their precious horses, and left only one of their own dead on the field. For the Comanche, it was a devastating blow, the glitter of stolen treasures fading into the dust, the dreams of retribution trampled beneath hooves. The Battle of Plum Creek marked not just the end of a raid, but a shift in the balance between a fading way of life and the relentless advance of a new Texas. Echoes after Plum Creek, the fate of the free Comanche. Though the bloody trail of the Battle of Plum Creek marked a bitter retreat, Buffalo Hump had not been wholly defeated. Amid gunfire and chaos, the Comanche war chief succeeded in shielding what mattered most: their women, their children, their legacy. While Texans claimed a portion of their stolen horses, thousands still thundered north with the retreating warriors. Yet vengeance had awakened a storm, and John Moore with the La Grange volunteers would mercilessly hunt down fleeing Comanches, nearly wiping out one scattered war party. The fires of resistance flickered on. Buffalo Hump continued to strike until 1844, when the weight of war and growing settler dominance pushed him toward a fragile peace. Statehood for Texas brought treaties that penned the once roaming Comanches into reservations, stripping them of their lands. Starvation and betrayal followed. Buffalo Hump, proud and worn, fled the reservation's cruelty, only to face the guns of U.S. troops in the Wichita Mountains and be forced back. The once flourishing coastal town of Linnville never rose from its ashes, its people scattered, displaced by the raid's memory. The Great Raid and the Battle of Plum Creek were not mere battles. They were the mourning songs of a vanishing way of life, echoing across the open plains. The Battle of Plum Creek wasn't just a clash of warriors, it was a turning point in the struggle for control of Texas. But was it a victory for the settlers, or just another chapter in a brutal war? If you want more forgotten battles like this, smash that like button, subscribe, and tell us in the comments. Should the Comanche have been given a fair peace treaty instead? Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time on History Love.